The National Wages Council, or NWC, has recommended that lower wage workers should get a pay bump next year of at least $100 to $120. It is the highest quantum of increase to date for these employees, earning a gross monthly wage of $2,500. Now, the range for built-in wage increase remains at 5.5% to 7.5%. And even then, the Manpower Ministry says only 27% of firms followed these guidelines last year. Those that did not raised salaries at an average of 4.8%. MOM says it will work with the unions and employers to get more to adopt the guidelines.
What is key is to really look at productivity and what can increase that in the long term. So from the enterprise side, carry on with enterprise transformation. From the workforce side, carry on with workforce transformation. So it's both employer responsibility and employee responsibility to continue good good productivity growth. Over the long term, wage growth can't be higher than productivity growth.
For workers at large, the council recommended that employers who have done well should reward their employees with wage increases. NWC adds that employers should implement the flexible wage system in full, comprising an annual variable and monthly variable component, and that employers should invest in their workforce and focus on job transformation to boost productivity.
There were some sectors that were doing well, and if they do well, then those gains should be shared with the workers. But if they don't do well, then they need to go about and do all the restructuring. And I think that's a good message to send to all employers, including prospective ones who may still come and look at Singapore as a place to base their businesses.
And for more, we're now joined by Alvin Aloysius Goh, Executive Director of the Singapore Human Resources Institute. Mr. Goh, welcome to the studio.
Thanks for having me.
First of all, your thoughts on the recommendations?
I think when we heard about it, I think it's a really very measured and controlled and forward-looking guidelines. Because at one point of time, we don't want for the wage disparity to go too far, but yet focusing on the lower wage, I think that's a good start. And the recommendations, to me, to be very honestly, it's very optimistic of the economy in the year ahead of us, offering 5.5 to 7.5%.
So these are forward-looking guidelines, as you said, uplifting our workers while balancing business sustainability. In all, though, what impact do you foresee these recommendations have on companies' bottom line in the short and long term?
I think on a short-term basis, definitely we will see an increase in overall personnel costs, right? But we think on a longer-term basis, when we actually offer wage increase in particular, it actually promotes an employee safety net of the organization's overall financial health. Number two itself, it also lowers down the recruitment costs, right, as well. And all these factors would drive on the longer term productivity. I think that's important. And employees must understand that, yes, although there's a need to play the short game, but don't forget about the long-term vision as well of the organizations.
Okay, when it comes to the minimum wage increase for lower wage workers, it is the highest quantum of increase to date for this group of workers. But do you think this increase is sufficient to meet our cost of living and inflationary pressures, or more can be done for them?
I think definitely more can be done for the low wage workers. I've seen organizations, instead of doing the NWC guidelines, they're also offering allowances, be it tangible dollars and cents that they are giving, like a bit of transport allowance, clothing allowance, uniform allowances. They're also kicked up, right, just to help defray the inflationary costs that we are seeing. But also importantly, I'm also seeing a lot of SMEs and organizations redesigning their benefit strategy in total, right, designing it to fit the various lifestyles, the various life stages of their workforce as well.
Okay.
Right? Not coming from a cookie-cutter approach like very traditional compensation and benefits consultants would do, but really personalizing it to the needs of their own workforce so as to drive productivity for their own organizations.
In the long term as well.
That's right.
How far, though, do you anticipate wage growth growing in helping employers to attract and retain the wider talent pool?
I think wage growth is still a necessary lever that one can pull off. But going forward, if you think about and reimagine how the future workforce is going to be, I think personalization of compensation and as well benefits, right, are very important. I think organizations and employers, we also have to look beyond the tangibles and look at the intangibles, such as reskilling and training, redesigning workplaces, and as well, looking at how our organizations will be like in the future.
Okay.
And we look from that angle and ask ourselves, what are the skill sets that we need? And therefore looking into how we can actually train our employees or retrain them, right, to fit and resolve problems of the future.
In the context of job transformation and upskilling the workforce, as you mentioned earlier, beyond Singapore's current push for fintech and AI, among others, what other trends are you seeing employers pushing for in talent development of the wider sector?
I think what we are really seeing is training in green training, especially in the areas of ESG, right? And for that itself, a lot of organizations are also embarking on design thinking skill sets as well. Taking upon micro-learning, that is something really happening here in Singapore and beyond, whereby employers are sending employees for bite-sized learning that are timely interventions on a very micro scale, not necessarily sending them for a long 6 months, 1 year type of program. And this is something that a trend that's really unpacking by itself here in corporate Singapore.
All right, Mr. Goh, appreciate your insights tonight. Thank you very much for coming in.
Thank you for having us.
That was Alvin Aloysius Goh, Executive Director of the Singapore Human Resources Institute.